about it was he was talking about, in one of his interviews, he said, I don't believe in style. I don't believe in the Japanese way of fighting, the Chinese way of fighting. You know, he said that, right?
Right.
And he says, everybody has 2 feet, 2 legs. Until somebody has 3 arms or 3 legs, then there'll be a different style of fighting.
Yeah.
But okay, obviously I can clearly see the truth in that. And what I could normally do is take that and be like, all right, this is the truth, and this is the way it is, and I don't believe in style either. But like I could see, okay, everybody might have 2 arms, 2 legs. Okay, fine. But I could see that there can be different styles because everybody's athleticism is probably going to be different.
Most
you know what I'm saying?
Gonna be different.
Yeah. Everybody's athleticism most likely will be different. In addition, a lot of people are different heights.
Right.
That's clear. And then another thing is, a male and a female, their bodies are not built the same.
True.
So these differences can create different styles. So meaning like, there could be a style developed for somebody that's like 6 foot tall, like, or over, that's gonna be most effective for tall people.
Right.
And not really too effective for short people. And then there could be a style that's really good for people that are kind of husky and more like, you know, meaty.
Right.
Opposed to somebody that's like kind of thin and fast.
Right.
You know, like I could see that because the style is essentially just trying to be like, okay, you know, like just like music. It's like, you know, there's a hip hop, there's rock,
right.
There's R&B, like which style of music,
yeah,
what kind of style of music you like, and you just get, the style is just kind of like the general category of what I like, you know,
right.
And that's kind of what I see, that styles is kind of like this school. Look at me, I'm like 5'5", 145 pounds. I'm gonna discover through my whole life's work the most effective way to survive at my height, my weight, my athleticism, my genes.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that that's gonna be for everybody.
True.
But it's gonna be like my scientific, basically like experiments and discoveries and research to find the best method for me. Now, people that are around my height, my weight, around my athleticism, this could be the method for them.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that it's gonna be like the true method for everybody, because there's gonna be tall people out there that's gonna be able to get an axe kick to work, which I'm gonna see that's completely useless.
Right.
Because of my height, for example.
Right.
Or like just other things, you know, that they like to do. You know, like another thing, like tackling people and body slamming people. I mean,
right.
Really, like if the person's 220 pounds,
I'm not gonna
like am I really gonna lift this person up and throw him on his head? I mean, you know, really? You know, it's like no, like that's not for me. You know, it's like, so it's like that's the thing. It's like, so I could see, like I could see it differently now. That now, like there is such a thing as style, you know, and just like the styles of food. Like we know, okay, there's Japanese food, there's Korean food, there's Chinese food, there's Filipino food. They might seem the same from like from the outside, but if you really analyze each different like food from that country, you'll see differences.
Right.
You know, just like be like rice is rice. No, there's like jasmine rice, and then there's that other type of rice which is like pretty cheap, like the flaky. You know, like there's different types of rice.
Okay.
There's like Indian have their rice, and then Thai have like Thai jasmine rice they call it.
Okay.
And then there's other rices too, and then.
Speaking on that, not to cut you off, I got some friends, actually Muslim brothers I talk to at work, and you know, they, man, come eat, you know, hang out with me and my family, and they have like this type of rice, and it's like long or whatever, and it's good.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, man, shit is spicy. You know what I'm saying? It's got chicken in it. It's like, man, like you said, rice is rice, but it's like, no, like culturally, like they prepare it a certain way. Yes, it's rice, but it's totally different. Like if I brought it to you, you're like, what is this? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's rice, but it's like, man, what is it? Like, what did you put in it? You know what I'm saying? So I hear you on that. I mean, it's a small thing, but it makes a world of a difference when you're talking about culture.
Yeah. And that's what I think every culture they try to do is they try to make it a little bit different. So then there is that distinction. So then they can set themselves apart from everybody else.
Right.
And that's just kind of like what we all do as humans. A lot of us is we want to set our stamp into like, no, this is unique to us. That's why your name is different than mine.
Right.
And that's why like this shirt has this logo that other shirts have different logos. Or like these cars, you can't just say, oh, every car is the same. No, like these companies use so much science and so much money to invest to make a different distinction between each car, so then they can set themselves apart from everybody else.
Right.
You know, so that you can't be like, oh, you know, Mercedes and Ford and Chevy's all the same. No, it's like they're different. And then they got different models for each like car in different years, and there's a lot of differences.
I mean, they make differences even in how they advertise. Like certain cars, they don't make for people who's like, man, we're not making this car for this person. We're making this car for this type of individual who actually likes driving. They're not trying to be flashy. They're not trying to do this. They're not trying to do that. And they're willing to pay for it. When I think of that, I think like BMWs. They make cars for people who like to drive. But for people who don't care about driving, who just want to be, you know, like economy or whatever, it's like, all right, well, we're going to make the car for you. It's got enough space. It's not that expensive. It's a Civic. There's nothing. I like Civics, not disrespecting, but they're totally different markets.
Yeah.
They can be both small cars, but they're built differently. Like, all right, well, this is for the person who likes a little bit of power, you know, and, you know, doesn't care so much about put premium in there. And this car is like, all right, this person is being frugal and they don't care about speed. They're just going from point A to point B.
Yeah.
That's the distinction right there. And it's not like hey, if you buy this car, that's cool, but we ain't make it specifically for you. We made it for specifically this market. And if you fall in that market, great. If you don't, that's fine. We still making this because this represents us and this represents this type of buyer.
Yeah. I mean, I just see, like, when I analyze it, like, I think a lot of us, when we look at Bruce's teachings, like, the truth in it, but then because the changing of times, I think a lot of times we could just take the truth in and be like, hold so strong to it, be like, that's what it is. But then you don't truly see the deeper part of it, you know? Like, that's kind of where I feel that I see it, like, kind of differently, because I could see, especially when you're trying to run your own school, and then you're like, man, how am I supposed to promote my way if I don't believe in style, if I don't teach, you know, if I don't promote styles? Because then you're almost telling everybody, oh, you know, it's almost like you have somebody come through the door, no, don't learn my way, leave. I don't want you.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, if you want students, you're like, yeah, you gotta show them a way. Like, this is the way. You know, like, this is the way that what we do. You know, and is it something that you think you like? Is it something that, you know, that you could find that you're comfortable with? Then hey, you know, then join this school and then we could promote this way together. You know, opposed to just like turning everybody away. Like, I got my way, you got your way. Just do your own thing. And I think that's the problem with Bruce Lee's teachings, is that kind of creates like too much rebelliousness within people, and then people don't want to work together anymore.
Sure.
Like, oh, I don't want to wear the same color as him, or I don't want to wear that same uniform, or I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, I want to do my own thing.
Right. I don't want to represent that. I want to represent this. It's like, well, why are you here?
Yeah. Exactly. You know, I think that's one of the struggles. Is like, I can see a lot of truth in Bruce's teachings, and I want to promote Bruce's teachings, and I have been, but being a school owner and trying to get people to come together to represent something of beauty together, you got to see the other side of it, you know, and like the beauty of like working together, you know, like basically like the bicyclists, you know, like all wearing in uniform, riding dope bikes all in line. Like, that's pretty cool, you know. The forms, you know, like that little girl doing the form by herself was dope. Yeah. But imagine if like 10 little girls did the same damn form in unison. You know how like they're like, whoa, you're like 10 of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the beauty of like numbers. Like, you can see the beauty in numbers, in people, like families built together. Like, okay, you're cool by yourself. Like, hey, it's just me. You know, I'm dope. But then you found a fiance. Now you're like, oh, you know, Now
Turn
it's
this
us.
a whole nother level, right?
Now it's us. And then if you have a kid, like now it's us and the little dude. You know, it's like it's not just you anymore. It's like kind of it's cool when you can like share something beautiful together. Because I mean, when you're like just up here and you're alone and like I'm the dopest, like I do 100 pull-ups, you got one, and then it's like and like you know just kind of like you're just up here. It's not fun. But then when you bring people up with you, then it gets fun. You know,
You
so
can go a lot further. I think, you know, birds. You know how they fly together, like in that V formation or whatever.
Yeah.
You have one bird that kind of stays in the back.
Yeah.
And it kind of keeps the other birds up, and they actually fly faster.
Oh,
And they go by themselves. So them going in the V is not just because the group thing to do. Like, yeah, it's like, man, we're trying to get there. We'll get there faster if we work together.
Oh yeah. And that's the dope part. I think, you know, running the school, man, it's been like a challenge to kind of figure out the way to do it while like retaining the truth of what Bruce Lee had to express. Because I don't want to turn people into robots. I clearly don't want to do that.
No, I hate you. I hate
You know,
you.
I don't
feel
want.
that.
Yeah, like I don't want people being robots. You know, like I want them to have like the freedom to make their choices. But at the same time, it's like you gotta be so well trained that it's like even with the freedom, it's almost like we think alike. We make the same decisions. It's almost like hey, you know, I'm promoting health, and I'm saying, you know, I naturally don't drink alcohol, and then like my students end up just don't doing it on their own, not because I told them not to,
Right,
but they just
they
decide,
are,
you know what,
right.
you know, it's not helping my training. You know what I'm saying? Or like, you know, it's like you know, I'm trying to improve, and then they just naturally want to improve too. You know, like it's just like natural. Like, you know, like the other day, you know, we're all wearing the blue pants. Like, hey man, I want blue pants too.
Yeah, they call me like, yeah, bro, you want me to get you the blue pants? Like, yeah.
Like it should just come natural, not like forced, you know. So, I mean, I want to get that group feeling, but it takes time.
I mean, I definitely hear you with the teaching, like I said, with the group, or at least having some form of like foundation. With the styles though, I mean, maybe, and I mean, I look at it like you said, the same way. It's like, all right, well, not representing anything is maybe what Bruce felt at that time, but maybe he looked at styles as just being like limitations. Like we was talking about earlier, like, all right, certain schools, like, all right, they, like you say, you get it so down where you're a robot, you become limited by that. But once you're not limited by I wouldn't say school, but the tradition, it's like, all right, well, you know, you've opened up the doors to, all right, I'm not just one style, I'm kind of like everything, like a Swiss Army knife style. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
I mean, I hear you on that point. I'm wondering, like, is that what Bruce really meant? It's like, hey, is he shunning every style but kind of accepting every style at the same time? Like, hey, I'm not limited. Like, I don't believe in styles. I don't think, maybe he shouldn't have used styles with limitations. Like, I'm not limited to this or to that. I'm using everything.
It's really complex, man, his teachings, because I mean, like, I think because he was an actor and he was representing himself in the movies.
Right.
Like, he could say that, but you can't really say that if you're running your own school.
True.
Because your school in itself
has to represent something.
Yeah. It's like, okay, you applied at the city hall. I want to open up a business. Okay, what's the name of your business? There's no name. Like, what? Like, no, you have to have a name. Like, no, there's no name.
Just
They'd be
leave it
like,
blank.
they're like, no, like, you know, if you want to open up a business, you're gonna have to come up with a name. And then as soon as you choose, okay, he says no style, but then as soon as you say Jeet Kune Do, that's dating back to China. That's leading back to the Chinese.
Right.
He didn't label it like with a French name.
Right.
You know, that would have been silly if he did, but you know, he said Jeet Kune Do in a sense that's already pointing towards the Chinese. And when he closed down all the schools and he went into acting, he said it himself. I wanted to promote the Chinese culture. He didn't say I want to promote the Japanese culture.
True.
He didn't say I want to promote the African culture. He said I want to promote the Chinese culture. And then even though he didn't say it, he stayed silent. Like he was like in one of his movies, and then his buddy was like, "This is like Chinese martial arts," you know,
right.
Pointing at him. Like he didn't say it himself,
Somebody else said it.
Somebody else said it for him, basically signifying that when you claim Chinese martial arts, now you're not. It includes not just Jeet Kune Do. It includes Wing Chun, Chole Fut, Hung Gar, Shaolin, Tai Chi. Yeah, everything. That's gonna be a lot stronger than just Jeet Kune Do.
True.
So then when you say Chinese martial arts, now you got all this. Now it might not be as much as just every martial arts, because then now you can, if you said I practice everything, now you're like, okay, now you're drawing in Japan and Thailand. But like basically when you claim Chinese martial arts, it's limiting, but it's not as limiting than being even more specific, you know. But I mean, like I said, that's why as a school owner, I can't think of it in the same way, because I have to promote my school. It's almost like me like basically turning people away from my own school.
True.
When you say no style. Because you're basically telling people I don't have a school. I don't believe in schools.
Right.
Learn it on your own. Go home, go on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Like even YouTube is, in a way, it's like you're borrowing from every other, you know what I'm saying? Not everything out there, because there's going to be teachers that are not on YouTube, that are not sharing what they know. So YouTube has a lot, but it doesn't have as much as the world has, because there's a lot in the world that's not on YouTube.
True.
You know, so basically, it's different. You know, it's different. You know, like that's why I'm saying for me, because I'm different, because my situation is different. I gotta go at a different approach. I can't just like copycat off of Bruce and be like no styles, because that's not gonna work for me.
And I mean, the world is a different place. I mean, even let's say Bruce was here today. The world is a different place than it was in what 1972, 3. You know what I'm saying? The iPhone, computers, the world's a whole different place. So we gotta look at, you know, I mean, yeah, we gotta learn from that, but we gotta bring that, you know, to this time. Like, you know, well, what will be the path now? And I mean, really, nobody can really show you that. You just been finding it your own way.
Yeah. You know? That's what you gotta do, pretty much.
I think about it all the time, like Jimi Hendrix. People are like, oh man, he was a great guitarist. Like, man, if he would have lived past that, like if we had seen a Jimi Hendrix in the 80s, you know what I'm saying? Like with the technology they had, or even certain athletes, you know, at that time, it's like, man, they would have been a totally different, you know, athlete, musician, martial artist just in this time.
Yeah.
You know, they couldn't have done what they did then, you know, now. At least in the same way. I mean, mediums have changed. Heck, Bruce Lee couldn't have been on YouTube. There was no YouTube then. He had to go through Hollywood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Exactly.